Can we start? Good morning. Good morning. Please, can you sit and we start? Excellency Minister Nadia Fattah, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Kingdom of Morocco, Excellency Minister Ukuru Yatani Kanacho, Minister of Finance of Kenya, Excellency Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellencies, Ministers, Excellencies, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are about to start our 2 days retreat on financing African Union beyond the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, enhancing resilience of African economies and the financial sustainability of the African Union. We have a 2 days retreat. We're discussing financing union, the role of F-15, and how the continent can recover after the pandemic while facing the consequences of the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. Our opening session, I would like to invite Her Excellency Minister of Finance and Economy of Morocco to give her opening remarks. Over to Your Excellency.
Excellencies, dear Ministers, Mrs. Vice Presidents of the African Union Commissions, honorable members of the F-15, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Morocco for this retreat of the F-15. And please now allow me to make my welcome and introductory remarks in French. Je suis particulièrement ravie et honorée de prendre la parole à l'ouverture de cette retraite interministérielle du comité des 15 ministres des Finances de l'Union africaine, le comité F15, qui se tient pour la première fois au Royaume du Maroc. Je voudrais à cette occasion vous souhaiter la bienvenue au Maroc et un agréable séjour dans cette très belle ville de Rabat, capitale administrative, mais aussi capitale culturelle du Royaume. J'espère que vous aurez, toutes et tous, le temps de découvrir quelques facettes de cette ville centenaire qui alterne modernité et authenticité avec grâce et fierté. Permettez-moi également de rendre un hommage appuyé à son Excellence Dr Monique Nsanza-Baganawa, vice-présidente de la Commission de l'Union africaine, pour le travail considérable qu'elle a accompli avec les services compétents de la Commission, en parfaite collaboration avec les équipes du ministère de l'Économie et des Finances et leurs homologues du ministère en charge des Affaires étrangères, pour assurer la réussite de cette retraite. Mes vifs remerciements vont également aux éminentes personnalités venues rehausser de leur présence effective cette session inaugurale. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, nous nous réjouissons du choix du Royaume du Maroc pour accueillir cette retraite ministérielle du comité F15, la première depuis plus de 2 ans, et nous y voyons une reconnaissance fort appréciable des efforts déployés par notre pays et de son engagement en faveur de l'Union africaine au cours de ces dernières années. Ce choix reflète aussi la confiance que placent nos partenaires africains dans le Royaume du Maroc, qui a toujours fait de la coopération sud-sud avec les autres pays africains un choix stratégique porté par le leadership éclairé de Sa Majesté le roi Mohammed VI, que Dieu l'assiste, et fondé sur une vision globale et équilibrée du développement de notre continent. Pour concrétiser cette vision, le Royaume du Maroc a considérablement renforcé ses relations de coopération bilatérale avec les autres pays africains au cours des 2 dernières décennies, tout en œuvrant pour développer de nouveaux partenariats gagnant-gagnant à la faveur des multiples visites officielles effectuées par Sa Majesté le Roi en Afrique. Ces visites royales, au nombre de 50 dans plus de 30 pays africains depuis l'an 2000, ont permis de conclure plus de 1000 accords de coopération qui ont contribué à baliser le terrain pour les opérateurs économiques dans nos pays, pour lancer des projets d'investissement à fort impact dans plusieurs régions du continent. L'engagement royal en faveur du continent s'est accompagné par la mise en place d'un cadre juridique plus propice au développement des flux commerciaux et d'investissement à travers la conclusion de plusieurs accords de promotion et de protection des investissements, l'assouplissement de la réglementation du contrôle d'échange pour renforcer les investissements marocains en Afrique et la dynamisation des commissions mixtes bilatérales tendant à renforcer la coopération sectorielle avec une importance particulière accordée au renforcement des capacités et au transfert de l'expertise et du savoir-faire. Le Maroc œuvre également pour mettre sa position géographique privilégiée au service du développement du continent africain en se positionnant comme hub économique et financier régional et le trait d'union entre l'Afrique, l'Europe et le Moyen-Orient. Je citerai à cet égard le rôle que joue la place financière de Casablanca, qui contribue de plus en plus à canaliser les capitaux internationaux vers des projets d'investissement en Afrique, aidés en cela par l'attrait particulier que suscite notre continent et le dynamisme de sa croissance. Grâce à cette dynamique renouvelée des relations économiques entre le Maroc et les autres pays de l'Afrique, le Maroc s'affiche aujourd'hui comme le premier investisseur africain en Afrique de l'Ouest et le deuxième sur le continent. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, organisé sous le thème « Au-delà de la pandémie de la Covid-19 et du conflit ukrainien, renforcer la résilience des économies africaines et la viabilité financière de l'Union africaine ». Cette retraite du comité F15 arrive à point nommé dans un contexte particulièrement difficile pour notre continent et à l'heure où le monde entier subit de plein fouet les conséquences d'une crise sanitaire sans précédent, doublée d'une crise géopolitique de grande ampleur. En effet, depuis 2020 et l'éclatement de la crise économique engendrée par la pandémie du Covid-19, qui a plongé notre continent dans une récession pour la première fois depuis des décennies, les économies africaines font face à une crise quasi existentielle qui remet en question la soutenabilité de nos modèles de croissance, la viabilité de nos finances publiques et l'efficacité de nos systèmes de protection sociale. La crise ukrainienne est venue exacerber ces défis en aggravant les risques sur la sécurité alimentaire et énergétique du continent, réduisant davantage les marges de manœuvre budgétaires et extérieures de nos pays. En raison de cette conjonction de circonstances aggravantes, l'économie mondiale et les économies africaines en particulier se trouvent aujourd'hui face à une spirale inflationniste dont l'issue est difficilement perceptible à court terme. pour notre continent. Le coût de cette situation pourrait, si nous n'agissons pas rapidement et collectivement, provoquer un recul considérable des progrès accomplis à l'échelle continentale en matière de réduction de la pauvreté et des inégalités et rendre nos économies encore plus vulnérables aux chocs extérieurs dans un environnement mondial instable. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, au-delà de son impact direct sur les économies africaines, la crise actuelle, de par son ampleur inégalée et sa durée imprévisible, pourrait remettre en cause la viabilité financière de notre grande famille institutionnelle qu'est l'Union africaine, soit en incitant les partenaires internationaux à réduire les financements accordés à l'Union, soit en réduisant les capacités contributives des États membres confrontés à une pression accrue des finances publiques. Dans ce contexte, repenser le modèle de financement de notre Union s'impose avec acuité si nous voulons garder le cap de l'objectif que nous nous sommes fixés depuis 2015 à Johannesburg pour un financement durable, prévisible, équitable et responsable de l'Union africaine. Notre comité F15, fortement engagé dans la dynamique des réformes budgétaires et financières lancées par l'Union africaine ces dernières années, est sans doute l'organe le mieux placé pour mener cette réflexion stratégique avec comme objectif de formuler une vision globale sur la voie à suivre pour apporter des réponses concrètes aux défis du financement de notre institution. Au cœur de cette vision, la performance budgétaire de l'Union africaine devrait être érigée comme une priorité de premier ordre en vue d'opérer cette transition tant espérée d'une logique des moyens vers une logique de résultats. En effet, les contraintes de financement qui pèsent aujourd'hui sur le budget de l'Union devraient nous inciter non seulement à rechercher des sources de financement additionnelles, mais surtout à optimiser l'utilisation des ressources disponibles. À cet égard, je souhaiterais saisir cette occasion pour vous soumettre, honorables membres du comité F15 et hauts dirigeants de la Commission de l'Union africaine, l'idée de la mise en place d'un groupe de travail rattaché à ce comité qui servirait de plateforme de réflexion et de proposition sur les moyens de renforcer la performance du budget de l'Union africaine et d'améliorer l'efficacité de ses dépenses. Je suis intimement convaincue qu'un tel mécanisme de concertation qui pourrait prendre la forme d'un sous-comité restreint, permettra, grâce à son agilité fonctionnelle et son mandat focalisé sur la performance, de faire émerger des recommandations concrètes pour accompagner la Commission de l'Union africaine dans la mise en place d'une véritable démarche et de performance. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, nos concitoyens africains appellent de leurs vœux une Union africaine forte, dynamique et capable d'apporter des solutions tangibles aux différentes problématiques auxquelles font face les pays du continent. La réalisation de cette aspiration légitime reste néanmoins tributaire de l'intensification des efforts de toutes les parties engagées dans le processus de réforme institutionnelle initié par l'Union depuis 2016 sous l'impulsion de son Excellence Paul Kagame, président du Rwanda. Cette retraite constitue ainsi l'occasion pour le comité F15 et l'ensemble de ses membres de réitérer leur engagement en faveur des réformes enclenchées par la décision de Kigali visant à promouvoir une culture budgétaire et financière axée sur les principes de bonne gouvernance et de reddition des comptes au sein de l'Union. C'est aussi l'occasion de saluer les efforts soutenus déployés par la Commission de l'Union africaine qui ont permis des avancées notables dans la mise en œuvre de réformes institutionnelles dans ses composantes les plus importantes, telles que la mise en place d'une plateforme technologique garantissant une plus grande transparence dans le processus de recrutement du personnel de l'Union et le respect de l'ensemble des règles d'or dans l'élaboration du budget 2022. Avant de conclure, je voudrais réaffirmer à nouveau l'attachement du Royaume du Maroc au renforcement de ses relations de coopération économique avec ses confrères africains, fidèle en cela au principe de solidarité agissante qui a toujours guidé son action sur la scène africaine, conformément aux hautes orientations de Sa Majesté le roi Mohammed VI, que Dieu l'assiste. À ce titre, je saisis l'occasion qui m'est offerte de vous adresser, honorables ministres et distingués participants, une invitation pour prendre part à la réunion des ministres des Finances du caucus africain qui est prévue à Marrakech du 4 au 6 juillet prochain et qui mettra l'accent sur les défis majeurs auxquels sont confrontés les pays africains, notamment le surendettement, l'insécurité alimentaire, les fragilités et l'adaptation au changement climatique. Je souhaite le plein succès aux travaux de cette retraite et un agréable séjour au Maroc à tous les participants. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Your Excellence, Minister Nadia Feta Alawi, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Kingdom of Morocco. Now, I give the floor to His Excellency, Minister of Finance of Kenya, to deliver his speech. Over to Your Excellency.
Honorable Ministers of Finance present and the distinguished representatives of the Ministries of Finance heading the respective delegations, Her Excellency Dr. Vera Songwe, Under Secretary General and Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the FTA Secretariat, Excellency Donald Kebaruka, the AU High Representative on Financing, the African Union and the Peace Fund, Excellency Vice Presidents of the African Development Bank, Excellency Ambassadors, Chairpersons of relevant ministerial and the PRC subcommittees and ministerial committees at ambassadorial level, esteemed experts of the F-15, Director General of the African Union Commission, Deputy Chiefs of Staff in the cabinets of the Chairperson and Deputy Chairperson, respectively, distinguished guests, Commission staff, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me at the outset to express the appreciation of the Kenyan delegation to the African Union and the Kingdom of Morocco for jointly organizing this very important meeting. We also thank the Kingdom of Morocco for hosting us, and we are particularly grateful for the warm hospitality accorded to us since we arrived here in this beautiful country. Equally, I'm delighted to be part of this retreat and have the honor to chair the meeting on behalf of Honorable Tahir Ngulin, Chairperson of the F-15, and the Minister of Finance and Budget of the Republic of Chad. This meeting has been convened with the main objective of reviewing the financial sustainability of the African Union and consider the viable options for financing and the Union in a sustainable manner. Certainly, this meeting provides a timely opportunity to reflect not only on the long-standing challenges facing our Union, but also engage on the more recent challenges emanating from the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. I am therefore happy that the objective of this retreat resonates well with the new realities that our economies and the entire continent are faced with. Ladies and gentlemen, we take note that successive summits of heads of state and government have taken varied decisions towards enhancing financing sustainability of the African Union. Largely, the focus of this decision has been on the strategies to reduce dependence on external resources, enhance predictability of revenues from the member states, and institute reforms towards greater accountability and transparency in the management of the African Union resources. In this reform journey, this committee of 15 ministers of finance has been accorded a silent role of participating in the preparation, and oversight of the annual budget of the Union. This mandate provides us with the opportunity to contribute to the desire of the AU members to achieve a financially autonomous and self-reliant African Union. I am happy that the F-15 committee has made useful input in this regard, and in particular, in instituting the ongoing budget reforms. However, a lot of work lies ahead of us, to not only sustain the gains made so far, but also entrench the principles and culture necessary for efficient and effective budget making and implementation in the Union. We therefore appreciate the convening of this meeting to enable us progress this important work. I'm sure this is going to be a very timely meeting that's going to give us proper roadmap on how best we are going to achieve all that we've set for ourselves to make our organization, the AU, on sound footing and make it integral and pride of Africa itself by being autonomous in managing its own affairs. At this juncture, I now thank you and wish you all fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Minister Okul, for rich and elaborate speech. Now I would like to invite Her Excellency, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver her speech. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, Honorable Minister Kuriatani, our chair of the proceedings of today, Honorable Minister Nadia Feta, our host, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers of Finance, and the distinguished representatives of the Ministries of Finance heading the respective delegations, Your Excellency Dr. Vera Songwe, Under Secretary General and Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Your Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Secretariat, Your Excellency Dr. Donald Kaberuka, the AU High Representative on financing the African Union and the Peace Fund, Excellency Vice Presidents of the African Development Bank, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, Chairperson of the relevant ministerial and PRC subcommittees and ministerial committees at ambassadorial level, esteemed experts of the F-15, the Director General of the Commission of the African Union, Deputy Chiefs of Staff, distinguished guests, Commission staff, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you all here in person and virtually at this annual retreat of the F-15 held in Rabat, Morocco. And I wish to first and foremost express on behalf of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, our profound gratitude to the government of the Kingdom of Morocco for graciously hosting this annual retreat of the F-15. Indeed, the warm hospitality extended to us, including this elegant venue, provides a very conducive environment to engage in pertinent discussions on financing the African Union, including discussions that speak directly to enhancing the capacity of African Union member states to fulfill their obligations to the Union in the face of multiple economic and social challenges, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent Russia-Ukraine conflict. Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, the subject of building the resilience of African economies must not be understated. Recent events within a 2-year time frame have reminded us that Africa itself must take the necessary actions to build its own capacity and strengthen its resilience against external shocks that have laid bare arguably deeper vulnerabilities when compared to other continents. While we ponder on these realities, we are called upon to look inwards to our collective strengths as African nations, the resilience of our people, the steadfastness of our leadership, and the unwavering determination by us all to see the Africa continues to prevail in the face of disproportionate impacts from the various economic and social challenges of a hyper-globalized world. For us, in the development sphere, we are called upon to re-examine our common but differentiated responsibilities as we recommend innovative bounce-back strategies in the various sectors of our economies. And while on this subject, however, it will be remiss of me if I do not expressly acknowledge that our economies have specifically endured a severe ravaging that has disrupted our development agenda and more directly our livelihoods. While we are encouraged to learn from the Africa Development Bank's recently released 2022 African Economic Outlook that Africa's gross domestic product grew by an estimated 6.9% in 2021 on a steady recovery path following a pandemic-induced contraction of 1.6% in 2020, by the same report, we are also alerted that the ensuing Russia-Ukraine conflict is threatening to decelerate growth due to inflationary pressures, amongst other factors. I should therefore reiterate that the onus is upon us to intensify efforts to build economies that are more resilient to external shocks as concerns food insecurity, severe price distortions in the commodity markets, and disruptions in the supply chain of petroleum products and fertilizers, for instance. Your Excellencies, importantly also is the question of the financial sustainability of the African Union, which must be equally accorded its rightful attention in the various policy dialogue spaces. And here, suffice to emphasize that when we talk of the financing of the Union, we actually have in mind the continental projects, initiatives that are speaking to the integration, to the prosperity, to the peaceful Africa we all want. But also, this, of course, is hinged on the financial muscle or capabilities of all the machinery behind this, including the organs of the Union and also of the building blocks, which are the RECs. We at the Commission are not numb to the immense financial challenges faced by member states at the national level. But frankly, we are also hard-pressed to expedite the implementation of these AU programs, which directly speak to the building of resilience that I have alluded to. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us all to ensure that, despite the unprecedented challenges, the Union remains undeterred in its quest for inclusive and sustainable development, as enshrined in both the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals and also the Africa Union's own Agenda 2063. This would also encompass the enhanced engagements and consultations with the RECs, the regional economic communities, as well as other Pan-African institutions on how we can intensify steps towards clear parameters of division of labor and alignment of national development plans with the regional and continental development frameworks, including the placement of existing regional and economic communities level partnerships and resource mobilization strategies with continental frameworks. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that's why the theme of this retreat of the African Union Committee of 15 Ministers of Finance, we also know as the F15, is particularly important. The F15, representing the wider voice of the Ministers of Finance across the Union, has a unique and a rather delicate task of sharpening the discussions by also providing recommendations on the fundamental concern of the financial sustainability of the African Union. While at it, we also recognize the special role played by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa and the African Development Bank, among other Pan-African institutions whose synergistic collaboration with the African Union remains an imperative in addressing these issues. Allow me to give a specific mention to two continental initiatives that speak directly to the subject at hand. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, a flagship program of the African Union Agenda 2063, provides a particular promise of enhanced value chain system in the critical sectors of agriculture, of manufacturing, energy, services, and others. Not to mention the impetus for a rapid development of infrastructure and digital technologies, which are also necessary in expediting and actualizing our quest for regional integration. On the other hand, the 0.2 levy on eligible imports, adopted by the heads of state and government in Kigali in 2016, it also provides an avenue for member states to mobilize the requisite financial resources required to implement our various development programs. Your Excellencies, these are some examples that attest to the foresightedness of our leadership and the continent at large in our quest for self-sufficiency and self-reliance. We are only, therefore, required to advance the discussions as we delve into other innovative ways and means of actualizing the aspirations and goals of our development agenda. Lastly, Excellencies, without overemphasizing the interconnectedness of peace, security, and development, I wish to underscore the importance of the revitalized Peace Fund and commend efforts thus far by member states to see that it is adequately financed and operational. As the Commission, we remain fully committed to support its governing structures throughout the policy planning and implementation spectrum, including enhanced coordination and cooperation, so that the needed resources are deployed in an adequate and timely manner. Broadly, I wish to mention that at the Commission, we continue to implement budget, and financial reforms aimed at attaining the highest fiduciary, transparency, and accountability standards in the utilization of the financial resources available to us by our member states. Accordingly, we remain committed to strengthen and deepen our engagements with the F15 and the relevant PRC subcommittees responsible for administrative, budget, and financial matters. Of course, these also include audit matters. Once again, I thank you all for your continued support to the African Union and wish you fruitful discussions.
Thank you, Your Excellence, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, for key points on financing the Union, the role of F15, and the other stakeholders towards the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. After these rich opening remarks, we are going to have a session for a family photo. Ushers in the protocol will guide towards where we should have our photo. Thank you. We have only 5 minutes, and then we continue our session. Please have your seats. Please. Excellencies, members of the panel, Excellencies, heads of delegation, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start the sessions of the retreat, and I would like to hand over to His Excellency Ukul, the Minister of Finance of Kenya, to take us through the program. Over to you, Your Excellency, Minister of Finance of Kenya.
Excellencies, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our session 1 discussion, and where we are going to deal with the Africa Union financial sustainability. We need to find out where we are now and what are the next steps, because for us to really take care of the health of the organization, we need to have a pragmatic approach in dealing with issues of funding. So we want to know where we are and what steps we need to take from here. And in this session, we have two prominent personalities who are going to give us their views on what needs to be done. And at this stage, may I now invite the AUC DCP to take us through the areas of financial health of the AU in the context of 9 golden rules for financial management and accountability. At this stage, the colleagues ministers will get an opportunity to look at where we are on the financial health of the AU in the context of the emerging policy issues, including the issues at hand that we deal with on a daily basis. The COVID-19 pandemic that is here, the emerging global scene, the higher inflation rates, the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and the attendant challenges that it has posed on the logisticals, the prices of grains, fertilizers, and generally, the upset of the global trends. And later on, we're going to have one of the eminent personalities for this continent, Dr. Donald Kebaruka, who's going to join us through a virtual session. But at this stage, let me invite DCP to kindly take the floor. Welcome.
Maybe it's better here, and someone will be running slides so that we can all see and go fast into the presentation. Chair, thank you so much for this. Indeed, we look forward to your session that is going to come after this and your discussions, but we felt it's good to also give you a picture like you have introduced the chair. I will be speaking to this context. As we know, since 2016, we are undergoing reforms, and one of them is the budget and finance reforms. The aim of it, as we all know, is really to reduce dependency on external resources and achieve sustainability and predictability of the revenues coming from member states and partners. We wish also to achieve a spread of the burden across the member states so that it's not a few that are carrying on their shoulders the needs of the union. And of course, last but not least, as you, Minister Nadia, mentioned, accountability, transparency, probity, fiduciary standards in the management of resources is a key for even to start speaking of financing. Before we go deep in the picture with the numbers, we wished also to share with you the results framework that we are working within. So before you, we have the 5 thematic priority areas, which form I would say the KPI areas of the African Union. We call them the KPIs of the chairperson of the Commission, who is the accounting officer of the Union, all organs and offices included. Number 1, it looks at institutional reform and corporate governance, whereby all the work of the reform falls. We look also at issues of communication, issues of engagement with the citizens, and I need this. Thank you. Issues of financial sustainability and predictability, that is really deliverables under that first thematic priority. There is a lot that we are going to engage on for this one, running from the processes, from the value for money, from the value proposition of what we are delivering as the Union, and how we do it. Then the second one, which is actually bulky because everyone almost across the landscape of the Union contributes to this. It speaks to really transforming lives and livelihoods on the continent. It looks at programs like CADEP in agriculture. It looks at issues in education and health, the work in Africa CDC and upcoming AMA, the work on gender equity and gender equality, everything that is really speaking to what is needed to transform lives on our continent. It's there. Then comes the governance, human rights institutions. This is indeed the rule of law, governance, rights, and institutions promoting the same on the continent. Then a big one, again, consolidating peace and security. This has been one of the most active and vibrant areas on the continent. And we're here to operationalize the Africa Peace and Security Architecture, make sure that our RECs and the regional mechanisms are working, early warning systems, and so on and so forth, so that we can achieve peace and stability on the continent. Then last but not least, integration, continental integration. All that is networking the continent, our free trade area, and other programs. The PIDA is one of our key programs that is looking at infrastructure development on the continent, and we must